He was not lost, he was just misplaced for a long time. He believed something was wrong with him, not in a dramatic way, not in a loud, painful way, but in a quiet, constant feeling that he was not exactly where he was supposed to be every day felt like. He was slightly out of sync with the world around him, like everyone else had a clear direction while he was just moving with time. Not really choosing anything, not really belonging anywhere. He tried to fix it by doing what people usually do. He kept himself busy, he followed routines, he set small goals, he tried to become more productive, more focused, more normal. But even when things were going fine, even when nothing was actually wrong inside him, there was still a strange emptiness, like something important had been misplaced, and he just couldn't figure out what it was. He would sit sometimes in silence, not sad, not happy, just thinking, why does everything feel slightly off, even when life looks okay from the outside? The more he thought about it, the more he started believing maybe he was the problem, maybe he was just not built the same way, maybe he was simply behind everyone else. So he kept pushing himself, trying to become something else, trying to adjust himself into a shape that felt acceptable until one day something very small happened. He was walking alone, nothing special, no dramatic moment, no big event, just a normal day like any other, but for some reason he stopped for a moment and looked around properly. Noticed people rushing somewhere, faces focused on destinations. He noticed how everyone looked like they were chasing something, even when they were smiling, even when they looked successful. For the first time, instead of asking what is wrong with me, a different thought appeared. What if nothing is wrong? That thought didn't come with answers, it came with silence. Strange, peaceful silence, like something inside him had paused for the first time. He didn't move for a few seconds, just standing there, letting that idea exist without rejecting it. What if I am not lost? What if I am just not placed correctly? Words felt simple, but they shifted something inside him. Because lost means you don't know where you are going, but means you are still, you just not in the right environment, not in the right direction, not in the right version of life. And that realization didn't fix everything immediately, but it changed the way he looked at himself. He stopped thinking of himself as broken. He started thinking of himself as incomplete, in progress, not wrong, just not aligned yet. Slowly, without forcing anything, he began to make small changes, not because he hated his life, but because he finally understood it was okay to adjust. I removed things that drained him without guilt. He moved away from people that made him feel smaller. He started paying attention to what actually felt natural instead of what looked impressive, and something surprising happened. The more he stopped trying to become someone else, the more he started feeling like himself. That emptiness he used to feel didn't disappear overnight, but it stopped feeling like a problem and started feeling like a direction, because now he wasn't fighting himself anymore. He was learning where he actually belonged, and one day he realized something very simple but powerful. He was never lost, was just in the wrong place for a version of himself he hadn't become yet. And the moment he understood that, everything stopped feeling like confusion and started feeling like movement, not fast, not perfect, but finally right. And from that point onward, his life didn't suddenly become perfect or easy, but it started to feel honest in a way it never had before. He no longer woke up feeling like he had to force himself into a version of the day that didn't fit him. Instead, he started allowing the day to show him what it needed. Some days he was productive, some days he was quiet, some days he simply existed without trying to fix anything. And for the first time, he didn't label those days as good or bad, or just days, and that shift changed everything. So pressure he used to carry began to fade, not because life became lighter, but because he stopped resisting it so much. He noticed how much energy he had wasted trying to be somewhere mentally that he was not physically, emotionally, or even internally ready for, and now he was no longer rushing that process. He began to observe himself instead of judging himself when he felt confused. He didn't panic anymore. He simply paused and asked, what part of me feels out of place right now? That one question became his quiet guide over time. He started making choices that felt more aligned, not because they were perfect, but because they felt naturally. Stopped forcing conversations that drained him. He stopped chasing validation from people who never truly understood him. He stopped measuring his progress against lives that were completely different from his own end. As he did that, something unexpected started happening. He started noticing clarity in small moments, a peaceful morning without overthinking, a task completed without stress, a conversation that felt easy instead of heavy. These small moments began to build something inside him, confidence. Not loud confidence, but quiet, steady confidence that didn't need attention to exist. And One evening, while sitting alone, he realized something very important he had spent so long thinking he was lost that he never considered he might just be in transition, not broken, not behind, not failing, moving from one version of himself to another end. Transitions are not meant to feel comfortable, they are meant to feel unfamiliar. That realization removed a weight he didn't even know he was still carrying, because now even uncertainty didn't scare him as much. It became part of the process instead of a sign of fate. Slowly, without forcing anything, his direction started becoming clearer, not because the world changed, but because he stopped standing in the wrong places expecting clarity. He began to move differently, not faster, but more intentionally, and every step started feeling less like confusion and more like alignment. And one day he looked back at the version of himself who once thought he was lost, and instead of feeling distance or shame, he felt gratitude, because that version had carried him through the confusion until understanding arrived. On now, he knew something deeply: simply, you are not always lost in life. Sometimes you are just not where you are meant to stay. The moment you stop forcing yourself to belong everywhere, you finally start finding where you actually belong. And after that realization, something very subtle began to change in him that he could not fully explain. At first, it was not a sudden transformation. It was more like a quiet settling inside his mind, like scattered pieces slowly finding their place without force. He still faced uncertainty, but it no longer controlled him in the same way before. Every unclear situation used to feel like danger, like something was wrong and needed immediate fixing. Now it felt different. It felt like waiting. Not empty waiting, but meaningful waiting, like something was still forming, something still becoming. He started noticing how much life had actually been moving, even when he thought he was stuck. Small improvements in his thinking, small changes in his reactions, small moments where he chose patience over panic. These things did not look big from the outside, but inside him they were rebuilding something important. Trust in timing, trust in himself, trust in the idea that clarity does not always arrive instantly, but develops quietly through experience. There were still moments when doubt returned, of course, moments when old thoughts tried to convince him that he was still behind, or still not enough, or still misplaced. But now he didn't argue with those thoughts as much. He simply observed them, like passing weather, and they passed faster each time. One evening while walking home, he noticed something he had never paid attention to before. The sky was changing colors slowly, not rushing, not forcing, just naturally shifting from one shade to another. And he realized something very simple: everything in nature moves without urgency, but still reaches its right form. Trees do not panic to grow faster. Rivers do not question their path. Seasons do not compare themselves. They simply command. For the first time, he understood. He had been treating his own life like something that should be forced into shape immediately, instead of something that unfolds. That understanding brought a strange calmness inside him, because if life itself is a process, then maybe he was not late, maybe he was not wrong, maybe he was simply That day, his relationship with time changed. He stopped treating every moment like a deadline and started seeing it as part of development. And slowly, the feeling of being misplaced started transforming into something softer, something more hopeful. Not lost, not behind, just becoming. And in that becoming, he found something he had been searching for all along, without even knowing it. A quiet acceptance that he was exactly where he needed to be in order to grow into where he was meant to go. And as he continued living with this quieter understanding, something unexpected began to happen in his everyday life. Things that once felt complicated started feeling simpler, not because the world changed, but because his reactions changed. Situations that used to trigger overthinking now only passed through him without staying too long. He would notice a thought appear, and instead of following it into stress or fear, he would just let it be there without giving it more importance than it deserved. And strangely, that alone changed everything. He began to feel less trapped inside his own mind. There was more space now. Space between thoughts, space between emotions, space between reaction and In that space, he started finding something new: choice. For the first time, he realized he was not his thoughts. He was the one observing them. And that small realization created a big shift in how he lived. Morning, he woke up earlier than usual, not because he had to, but because his mind felt lighter than it had in a long time. He sat near the window and looked outside at people starting their day, some rushing, some slow, some lost in their own thoughts, all moving in different directions. Instead of comparing himself to them, he simply observed everyone is in their own timing. He thought quietly, not ahead, not behind, just different paths unfolding differently. That thought removed another layer of pressure he didn't even realize he was still carrying, because most of his life he had been measuring himself against invisible timelines, against Expectations that were never truly his own. Now that comparison was losing its grip, he started focusing more on what felt meaningful to him rather than what looked impressive to others even. Small tasks began to feel different when done with presence, instead of pressure, and slowly without noticing. At first, he started building consistency, not through force, but through understanding. He was no longer pushing himself from a place of lack. He was moving from a place of clarity, and that changed the quality of everything he did. There were still days of confusion, still moments where old thoughts tried to return, but they no longer stayed long enough to define his direction, because now he had something stronger than confusion: awareness. And with awareness came stability, not the kind that depends on perfect conditions, but the kind that stays, even when things are unclear. Evening, as he reflected on everything that had changed, he realized something deeply important. He had spent so long trying to find where he belonged in life that he never understood. Belonging is not something you find outside, it's something that grows inside when you stop projecting your own process. And now slowly, he was beginning to belong to himself, and that was something no external place or approval had ever been able to give him before. And in that quiet understanding, everything finally started to settle inside him, not like a big moment, not like a sudden change, but like a long, restless noise. Slowly fading into calm. He no longer felt the need to figure everything out at once. He no longer felt pressure to be somewhere else in life other than where he was right now, because now he understood something simple but powerful. Life was never asking him to be perfect, it was only asking him to be present. He sat there in silence, feeling the weight inside him that used to feel like confusion, now turning into something softer, something almost peaceful. Even his past self, the one who used to feel lost and out of place, no longer felt like a stranger. That version of him was not wrong, it was just learning. Every mistake, every doubt, every moment of uncertainty had been part of bringing him here to awareness, here to acceptance, here to himself. He closed his eyes for a moment, and for the first time there was no search running in his mind, no question waiting for an answer, no feeling of being misplaced, just stillness, just clarity, just being. And in that stillness, he realized the truth that had been hidden in plain sight all along. He was never lost, he was never behind, he was never broken, he was simply now that he had arrived at understanding, he didn't need to rush anymore. He didn't need to prove anything anymore. He didn't need to search outside for what was already forming within him, because he finally understood home was never a blip, was a state of being where you stop fighting yourself, and for the first time in his life, he was home. Your time is coming. Keep believing. Keep fighting. Don't just watch. Go out and prove them wrong. Thank you for being part of the journey. If you liked it, please like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.